Welcome back to Cooking with Community Life. For those of y'all that don't know me, my name is Sherry Neese and I'm the Cookne's Community Life Coordinator. On today's episode, I'm going to show you guys how to make gumbo. This is the same gumbo that we use for our Mardi Gras First Wednesday dinner, which I've had lots of compliments about, and I've also had a lot of people ask me for the recipe. So I figured I would go ahead and share that with you guys. So if you'd like to see how to make some gumbo, please keep watching. Alright, so the first thing that I want to show you guys is kind of what I went ahead and prepped. So I went ahead and rinsed and peeled the shrimp. I cut up our sausage. I went ahead and diced up 1 onion, a cup of celery, and 1 green bell pepper. I've got our liquids for the gumbo, which is 2 quarts of chicken bone broth, which is what I have, but you can use any kind of broth that you want, and 2 quarts of water. And then I've got the rest of our ingredients here to season. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and show you guys how to make the roux, because that's going to take the longest amount of time, and I'll walk you guys back through the ingredients as we progress along throughout the video, and they're also going to be mentioned below. Alright, so I went ahead and set our front eye on medium-high heat, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add a 1/2 cup of oil to the pan and let that heat up before we add our flour. Now, something to keep in mind when you're making a roux is that roux come together quickly, but they take a long time to darken up. So you have to work very quickly. This is not a time when you want to leave the stove. This is going to probably take about 10 to 15 minutes of constant stirring, but trust me, it's a step that you don't want to leave out. And this is just vegetable oil. You can use any kind of oil that has a high burn rate. I won't use something like olive oil, for instance. You can use canola oil, you can use vegetable oil, you can use grapeseed oil, anything like that. Okay, so the oil is just about hot enough to put the flour in. And remember, like I said, you want to keep in mind this is going to cook really quickly, and in the sense that you're gonna have to keep stirring it. You can either use something like a metal whisk or a wooden spoon. I wouldn't use plastic because this gets so hot that it will burn plastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and add, it's equal parts, so 1/2 cup of oil, 1/2 cup of flour. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna sprinkle this and start stirring. We're just going to keep stirring this until we get a chocolatey brown color and a consistency that's close to about peanut butter. So once again, you can see our roux is still getting darker and darker. At this point, I would say we're probably about 1/4 to 1/2 of the way done. We want this to be as dark as possible, to have as dark of a roux for our gumbo as possible. So we're just going to continue cooking this until we get the right consistency and color. And now you're really able to see that the consistency is changing. It's looking more like a paste than a liquid, and that's exactly what we want. And it's getting darker and darker, so we are on the right track. Just keep on stirring. Alright, y'all, and we are pretty much here now. You can see how dark it's gotten. This is exactly what we want. We've thickened up a good bit, and we are a dark chocolate color. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn the heat down just a little bit to about medium. And then we're going to add in our holy trinity, which is our green peppers, our onions, and our celery. I'm going to go ahead and add that straight to the mix. And then keep stirring. It's going to get a little smoky for a second, but it'll calm down. At this point, I'm now going to switch over to my wooden spoon. And we're just going to saute the trinity until they get nice and soft. All right, since these are gonna take just a little bit to cook, I'm gonna actually go ahead and throw in the sausage as well. So this is Conecuh Sausage. This is actually sausage from Alabama, my home state, and it's made in Conecuh County, Alabama. I used to bring a cooler down with me whenever I would go visit my family to bring this back because it's that good a sausage. But Publix has started carrying it now, which is fantastic for me because now I can get it up here and I don't have to wait as long to get it. So if you wanted, you could cook the sausage before if you wanted to render off any of the fat, but I'm a good old Southern girl and I like to cook with as much fat as possible. It is not as healthy, but it's delicious. So if you wanted to cook the sausage ahead of time, you could render off the fat and then throw them in at this point to let them cook with the roux and the Trinity. And we're gonna let this cook down for just a little while, because what'll happen is as the Trinity and the sausage start cooking, it will render off some liquid, which will kind of look like a little stew almost, which is fantastic. It's exactly what you want. And then once we get all of this nice and cooked down, we'll add our liquids, which I'll go ahead and show you while this is cooking what I did. So I just went ahead and mixed up our chicken bone broth. Like I said, that's what I had on hand. You can use whatever you have. And it's 2 quarts of chicken bone broth and 2 quarts of water. And what I actually did, you don't have to do this, but this is just what I did for extra flavor, is once I got when I first got the shrimp, I rinsed the shells off, and then I peeled the shells and I kept them, because what I did was I put them in a pot with this stock, and I let it cook for a little while to get some of that delicious shrimp flavor in the stock. And then I just strained out everything that was in there but the stock to add to this. You do not have to do that at all, but I just do it. My brother is a chef down in Alabama and has told me numerous times to stop throwing away my shrimp shells because they add such great flavor to any kind of sauce that you want to make, whether it's a cream sauce or a broth in this case. He just told me it's such a good flavor and a waste if you throw it away. Okay, so as you can see, we're starting to get some liquid, which is fantastic. And you can see how dark this is. This is exactly what you want. So we're going to continue to cook this down for probably about another 5 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and add our liquids in. Okay, now that we've cooked this down a good bit, and you're starting to be able to see the liquid that's coming off this, which is perfect, we're going to go ahead and add in the garlic. The only reason why I didn't add the garlic in before is because garlic burns really easily. So you want to add it in a little bit later in the process. And we're going to add 1 heaping teaspoon of garlic, which is about 2 cloves. I cheat and do the minced garlic. A half a teaspoon is equal to 1 clove. So we're just going to mix that in. And then we're going to add the liquids. And so now we're going to add our stock. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little cup and we're going to add the stock a little slowly, just to get started. There we go. And you can see how dark and amazing this is. And I'm just going to add the rest of the stock, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, now I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit from medium back up to about medium high, because what we want to do is we want to bring this to a boil. And then once we bring it to a boil, we'll add our seasonings, we'll add our shrimp, and we'll add our frozen okra. Alright, so now we're getting to where our gumbo is about to start boiling. So here comes the fun part. Before it starts boiling, when it's steaming, we're going to go ahead and add in the seasonings. And this is the fun part because you can really use your imagination here and add whatever is to your preference and to your taste. If you like things super spicy, you can add cayenne pepper or red pepper flakes. You can use onion powder, garlic powder, anything like that. But what we're gonna use today is we're gonna use Tony's. We're gonna use Louisiana hot sauce. We're gonna use some bay leaves. And we're gonna use some Worcestershire sauce. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna add in a teaspoon of Tony's. We're gonna add in a teaspoon of salt. You can add more salt if you'd like to. 2 bay leaves. And Louisiana hot sauce is a very mild hot sauce, so I'm gonna add 1 full tablespoon. And the recipe that we're making is about enough for 10 people, so you can really double this if you want for more people, or even cut it in half for less. And then for Worcestershire, we're gonna add half a teaspoon, plus a little extra. All right, and now that you have the spices added, you can very carefully taste your gumbo and see if it's to your liking, if it needs more salt or if it needs more seasoning or anything like that. You can add that to it now. Okay, so now we're at a boil. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in our shrimp. These are medium Gulf shrimp. I got these at Bon Air Seafood, and this is 2 pounds. Like I said, I went ahead and peeled them and washed them and patted them dry before I'm gonna put them in here. So we're just gonna carefully add these. Paper plates are my favorite because they can be thrown away. Less dishes to clean. If you like your shrimp deveined, you can absolutely devein these, but I did not. Now we're gonna add in our okra. This is frozen. And I bought 2 5-ounce bags of okra, but this is looking like it's a lot, so I think I'm just gonna keep it at 1 bag. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna turn it down to a simmer. We're gonna put the lid on and we're gonna let this simmer for about 45 minutes. So I'll show you guys what the final product looks like in about 45 minutes. All right, and this is the final product after letting the gumbo simmer for about 45 minutes. It's nice and thick, the okra is cooked through, and the shrimp is done as well. So the best thing to pair this with is some rice. Put it on here just like this. And then a nice piece of french fries. And there you have it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.